How's it going, guys? My name's Kevil, and welcome back to another episode of the Guide series. Today we are going to be looking at how to breed for the passive skills that you want, and how to get a perfect direwolf at basically as early as you can unlock the saddle. I've got a pretty cool farm that I'm proud of for finding myself, and yeah, let's get on to the video. So here we are at my breeding base location, and basically just use one of your 3 PAL boxes that you're allowed to have and set up a spot with a bunch of ranches. I think I have 5 on this base, and a bunch of PALs that ranch for the specific items that we want. You also will need a wheat farm. I went for 2 wheat farms, and some transporting PALs, because you want them to take the drops from the ranches and put them in storages so you can access all the items here in the cooking pot. So what we are making is cake. All you care about in this specific place is to farm as much cake as possible. So the recipe for cake is flour, which you get from the wheat, red berries, which you can either farm for with a berry farm, or you can use the mon that I'm using. I can't remember the name of it at the second. You also need milk, eggs, and honey, and I'll show you how you get all of those also from the ranches. So we can queue up another 8, and I have 8 currently in my inventory. Now, I don't want to use these 8 cakes on these 2 direwolves, so I'm going to put the cake in here, and you can see the timer stopped. It is not ticking down, and there's no one in here breeding. So these cakes will last forever because they are in this storage. You do not need a chiller. As long as you have 2 breeding pens like this, you can save your cakes in the breeding pen not being used. First, I want to show you how to get the direwolves and the direwolf farm that I am proud of. But I guess before that, so you need at least 2 bee guards. I guess 1 will do the trick, but I like having 2. These are the guys that drop honey, which gets put in a feed box, so just make sure it's over here on the right. If you didn't know, I've said it before, the PALs will eat from left to right. So put the food that you want them to eat on the left, and then put the stuff that you want to be kept on the right. So got my wheat here, my honey, and then that feed box over there will have the milk. So the bee guards produce the honey, and then you have the Mazzarina who farm the milk, as you can see. There should be milk in the feed box. And then I've also got the Caprity. These are the ones that drop the berries. And then, of course, you need multiple chickpeas for the eggs. So, as you can see here, we've got eggs. That's the thing that I'm pretty much the shortest on. So I think I'm going to need to swap out to have more chickpeas, because the limiting factor for me seems to always be eggs. And probably because they despawn where the honey doesn't, I think you could get away with 1 bee guard and then, I don't know, 4 chickpeas. So that's about it for the base layout. You also want a place to turn your flour into, or your wheat into flour, sorry. And what I always do, I'm going to cancel this. I always set max and then go down by 1 to ensure that I'm leaving wheat in the food bin where I want it to be. Because if I were to use every single piece of wheat, it could reset the location of the wheat in the food bin to where they'll be eating it. Like, let's say this was like this. I use up all the wheat, they farm, they put the wheat here, and now my pals are eating it. So that's my reason for always leaving some wheat behind. I'm going to fly over with my Marcus to this area I marked on the map. So you can see there's King Paka, have the desolate church, the small settlement. You want to look on your map for this little feature of water with a rock in the middle, and you want to go to a little beach right next to there. So let's fly on over. So this is the little beach location I want you to look for. You'll know it because there's always the 3 PAL spheres that spawn down here with a palladium fragment, and I built myself a little hut because I need to sleep. You only can do this farm in the day. When it's nighttime, you're competing for Direhowl spawns. So if we look at our PAL deck, and we go to the Direhowl himself, Mr. Direwolf, and we look at the habitat. So I initially thought the best place to farm direhowls would be this island, like these two islands, or these up here. But there are so many other pals that are competing for spawns that when I was running circles around here, I was getting really low rates of actual direhowl spawns. And the reason that you want that many direhowls is because you need to look for 3 traits specifically. These traits right here. You need Swift, Runner, and Nimble. These will make any mount as fast as possible if you have all 3 traits. This is a total extra speed of 60%, so you will be zooming across the map depending on what mount you're getting these on. I'm using the Direhowl as an example because honestly, it is a really, really good early game mount. It's the 4th fastest mount in the game, and with these passives, it's actually faster than the endgame mount, but only if that mount doesn't have the passives. So here's the path that I was using to collect direhowls. So remember, build the bed in order to sleep because this only works during the daytime. So just run up here, and this area has one of the best rates for direhowls I could find anywhere. It probably is the best. So you come up the hill, immediately I find 1 direhowl, okay, or I just kill them both. See, even more direhowls up here. I always like to look left because there can be mons over here that have a chance to be direhowls. Right here we've got 2. Where these jolt hogs are can be direhowls, same with those ones over there. This spawns and despawns occasionally, so if the syndicate guys are annoying you, you can clear the camp. Then I turn around and I go up this hill where these direhowls are. I look left. There's syndicate thugs instead of direhowls this time, but direhowls up here on the mountain. You can grab those 2. Keep walking this way. Those jolt hogs could be direhowls. Look left. That Mammoresk can be direhowls. Look right. We've got 4 more direhowls. How many times can I say direhowls? Look left. These tansies can be direhowls. More direhowls here. This lamb ball could be a direhowl, and there could be direhowls up here. And then I jump off the cliff. When I jump down, I look right. More direhowls. Jump down the next thing of cliffs. Sometimes I look left and right again because I can see direhowls that respawned. And then the last thing I want to do is jump down the cliff because see where this jolt hog is? These can also be direhowls. Then once I've captured all of them, I'll run back down, ignoring those dudes. And I want to reset all of those spawns. And you just have to get far enough away. And coming down here and touching the water seems to be far enough away that every single one of those spawns resets, except for the syndicate thugs because they were chasing me. But I can run back up and repeat the farm. I was able to get hundreds of direhowls an hour doing this and got all of my passive skills in about an hour and a half. So, like I said, more direhowls there. Look over here. It was tansies this time and a jolt hog. No direhowls. Run back this way. That guy chased me really far. More direhowls here. Respawned. This time, no one on the cliff. A lamb ball here. Jolt hogs instead of direhowls. Alpacas instead of direhowls. And more jolt hogs. So this specific run was not nearly as good. If we jump down. Let's see who's on the cliff. Direhowl's on the cliff this time. So yeah, those guys you can catch. So I'll show it one last time, a lot faster. So the first two Direhowls I bred together was this male Swift, and you can tell that it's male by the gender icon right here. If it's blue, it's male. If it's red, it's female. So blue male was Swift, and the female with Nimble, which netted me this female that had Swift and Nimble together. And then I'm currently breeding this one with this one. So hopefully I can get Swift, Runner, and Nimble all on one Direhowl. So this one I got Swift, Runner, Nimble, and Diet Lover. I'm not a huge fan of having Diet Lover. I do want the extra open slot. So let's take a look at this next one. So Runner, Nimble, Pacifist, Hooligan. So as you can see, one of the traits didn't come through, which is a possibility, which is why you want multiple cake and to have multiple eggs hatched. See if I get one I want. So this one's only Swift and Runner. I lost the Nimble. That one's Runner and Gaia. I lost 2 of the traits. So this can be something that takes multiple attempts. Let's see. Runner, Swift, Nimble, and Burly Body. Well, I didn't get exactly a perfect Direhowl in my opinion, because I would rather have the Vanguard over the Burly Body. But this guy has Swift adding 30% movement speed, Runner adding another 20, 10 adding even more, and then Burly Body giving him some defense. I'm going to swap into this guy. So goodbye, Swift Direhowl. You have served me well. Let's go ahead and test out this guy. And while we're at it, let's do a quick test of everybody. All right, so we are maxing out Max with 64 of his friends that I captured during my attempts to get Max. So we'll begin condensation. And now Max is maxed out. Here's a side-by-side between the different levels of Direhowl, and you can see the maxed out Direhowl is almost twice as fast as a base Direhowl, and I think it's worth doing. Then here, Max versus Necromus. Max barely beats out Necromus. It honestly was much closer than I expected it to be. Well, Max here might not be the fastest pal in the game. He's not the fastest pal possible. Obviously, you could breed a Necromus to have the Swift, Runner, and Nimble traits, and then that would be the fastest ground mount possible. But for, you know, being able to do this at level 15, only needing to spend a bit of time catching Direhowls to get all of the base stats, and then breeding them together, it is really not that bad, and he absolutely zooms around the map. Like, this is definitely way faster than anything I was doing at those low levels. So yeah, I definitely would recommend going out and doing this if you so feel like it, because I sure like zooming around the map this fast. It would be wrong of me to leave out the fact that Necromus has the double jump ability, which is definitely a serious perk on his part that I didn't consider. So yeah, it definitely, Necromus is the best in-game mount, but let's be honest, you gotta be level, what, 50 to ride this guy, or like 48 or something like that. The Direhowl will be the best mount through the entire game up until the very end. So yeah, I would definitely still recommend crafting the Direhowl and then going for the Necromus once you get to the level to craft him, which is, yeah, level 49 to get the Necromus saddle. And then one more level to get the Jetragon, which basically makes everyone else obsolete if you haven't seen it yet. The dragon moves at 3,600 speed. He blows everyone else out of the water completely. But thanks for watching my breeding video, and I will see you in the next one!